We will now proceed to the second part of our subject, which is contracts. So, kung isipin natin class, medyo hindi tama yung pangalan ng subject. It is obligations and contracts, di ba? Why? Because contracts is just one of the sources of obligations. Di ba? Didiscuss natin at the uh, earlier part of the SEM that there are 5 sources of obligations. First is law, second contracts, third quasi-delicts, quasi-contracts, and delicts. So hindi ko rin gets bakit obligations and contracts siya. Bakit kasi hindi naman sila of the same level. But then, so proceed tayo dito sa contracts. So Article 1305, a contract is a meeting of minds between two persons whereby one binds himself with respect to the other to give something or to render some service. So in a contract, there must be at least two parties. Okay, class, discard yung persons. Two parties. Why? Because there is this thing called as auto contract. What is an auto contract? It is a contract executed by one person only. But in such execution, he represents at least two parties. Diba? It's either when a person in his capacity as a representative of himself and when as a representative of the other party. So, hindi totoo na hindi pwede magkaroon ng contract ng iisang tao lang. 'Di ba? Kasi kahit na iisang tao lang, but he is acting on different capacity, pwede yun. Auto-contract ang tawag doon. Okay? So, ayan, however, a single person may create a contract by himself where he represents distinct interests. Okay? Well, it is always subject to specific prohibitions of law against the presence of adverse or conflicting interests. So, tandaan nyo yun ha, auto-contract. Next. So, i-ano natin, katulad na sabi ko kanina, contract is one of the sources of obligations. While obligation, it is a legal tie or relation itself that exists after a contract has been entered into. There can be no contract if there is no obligation, but an obligation may exist without a contract. Why? Because there are other sources of obligations. May 4 pa aside from contract. Siguro may may nagtatanong sa inyo, what is the difference of an agreement and a contract? Diba? Class, agreement, for example, A and B has forged an agreement that they will go to church. Diba? So may agreement sila. Is that a contract? The answer is no. Hindi siya contract. Kasi walang obligation eh. Diba? It is an agreement, pero hindi siya source of obligation. Liwanag? Okay. So, ito, case again. Bachelder versus Central Bank. Well, 1972 case to. Issue whether or not monetary policy creates a contract. Ano ang natin dito? No. Article 1305 defines a contract as the meeting of the minds between two or more persons whereby one binds himself to the other to give something or render service. A monetary policy does not create a contract absent the element of accord of wills. What's accord of wills? It's the meeting of the minds. Diba? So, sinasabi lang dito sa Bachelor versus Central Bank that monetary boards do not create contracts between the central bank and dollar earners. Diba? So, characteristics of contract. Ito tatandaan nyo to ha. Ito yung principles. Principles of contract. So, Article 1306, the contracting parties may establish such stipulations, clauses, terms, and conditions as they may deem convenient, provided they are not contrary to law, morals, good customs, public order, or policy. Di ba, paulit-ulit natin dinidiscuss yan, yung exceptions na yan, yung limitations na yan, di ba? So, ano ang nito? Freedom or autonomy of contracts ang gist niyan is the parties are free to stipulate anything under the sun. As long as it is not illegal, it is not in contrary to law, morals, good customs, public order, or public policy. So kahit ano pwede. Diba? Yan lang ang limitations niyan. So, you have to kailangan lang since the stipulations between the parties in the contract are the laws between the parties, diba? And as long as it is not contrary to law, morals, good customs, it is valid. Tatandaan niya. However, class, freedom or autonomy of contracts or freedom to contract is limited by the common good or by the police power. Okay? Ano pa ba? Sige, ano pa ba? Next. May ano tayo, may isa pa. Limitations in freedom to contract. In agency, for example, in agency, a stipulation which excludes one or more partners from any share in the profits or losses is void. Diba? By express provision of the law, bawal yun. So sa pledge and mortgage, the creditor cannot appropriate the things given by way of pledge or mortgage or dispose of them. Any stipulation to the contrary is null and void. So, mayroon din dito na a stipulation forbidding the owner from alienating the immovable mortgage property shall be void. Article 213 Syria. Okay? Ano natin ito? Republic versus PLDT. So, ang issue dyan, whether or not PLDT may be forced to enter into a contract. No. Diba? Kasi, gaya ang sabi natin, freedom to contract. Diba? So, no parties may not be forced where no agreement has been made. Article 1306, New Civil Code provides contracting parties to have freedom to stipulate the terms, conditions, etc. of a contract because these are the very essence of our contractual system. True versus Platinum plans. Pakibasa na lang yung yung facts. Whether or not a non-involvement clause is a restraint of trade. Okay. So ano ba yung non-involvement clause? Balik tayo. Kadalasan sa labor yan. Ha? For example, si A, employer. Si B, employee. So, in-employ ni A, si B. Kapag si B ay magre-resign, pag magre-resign siya, pwedeng mag-impose, pwedeng nakalagay na doon sa contract of employment na after severance of employment of employee, such employee must not be involved in any trade in any trade synonymous or similar to the trade of this employment, of this employer. Para ganon, ha? So, pinagbabawal mo, parang pinagbabawal mo lang siya na, for example, ang aking trade ay sa clothing. So, yung non-involvement clause, for 3 years, hindi ka po pwedeng ma-involve sa clothing business. Diba? Ganon. Na indirect competition with my business. Okay. A question dyan is, pwede ba yon? The Supreme Court held that yes, pwede yan. It is valid. It is valid. As long as there is reasonable limitation as to place and time. Diba? Again, parties may freely stipulate the terms and conditions of their contract as long as the same is not contrary to law, morals, and good customs in accordance to Article 1306 of the Civil Code. Class, itong non-involvement clause, di ba? For this to be valid, kailangan reasonable siya. Reasonable. Stipulated yung place and time at yung extent. For example, A, employer, B, employee. Nakalagay sa employment contract, hindi ka pwedeng magtrabaho sa buong Pilipinas sa loob ng 5 taon kapag nag-resign ka dito. Is that a valid clause? The answer is no. That is not reasonable. Diba? Sa buong Pilipinas, bawal ka magtrabaho. Di ba napakasama naman nun? Diba? Kailangan may reasonableness. Diba? It's a case-to-case basis, class. So, ayun lang tatandaan nyo, non-involvement clause per se is not invalid. Okay? It is a valid clause as long as reasonable siya. May reasonable limitations. Next. Cuvi versus Arellano. So, this is about scholarship. So, ano yan? Pinabasa ko sa inyo yan. Dapat alam niyo yan. Okay, well, issue whether or not the stipulation in scholarship grant is valid. The answer is no. It is not. It is contrary to Article 1306. Diba? We have to remember that a scholarship grant is awarded in recognition of merit and not to keep outstanding students to bolster the prestige of the school. Diba? So ang sinasabi dyan is yung stipulation whereby student cannot transfer to another school without refunding scholarship cash, it is null and void. Because scholarships are awarded in recognition of merit. Diba? So, ayun, tatandaan nyo yan, class, ha? Cuvi versus Arellano University. Saura versus San Sindico. So, ano naman itong pinano ito? This is political, di ba? Issue whether or not the pledge is valid. No, among those who may not be subject of contracts are certain rights of individual, which the law and public policy have deemed wise to exclude from the commerce of man. The right of Sindico to run for public office cannot be curtailed by a contract or a pledge in this case. So, ang object na kanilang contract ay yung pagtakbo sa eleksyon, which is hindi pwede. Diba? That's against public policy. Diba? Among those that may not be the subject of matter of contracts are certain rights of individuals which the law and public policy have deemed wise to exclude from the commerce of man. And positions in the government is outside the commerce of man. Diba? Kung ganun pala ang mangyayari, edi bilihan na lang tayo, diba? Kung sino maraming pera, siya na lang pwedeng tumakbo. Tandaan niyo yan, ha? Saura versus Sindico. Election case dito ito. Papasok na sa political law ninyo. Leal versus IAC. Okay? It was stated in the document that the 3 parcels of land must not be sold to any other except the respondent, his heirs, or successors. Plaintiffs raised the petition that such document is a restriction of trade. Issue whether or not the compraventa is binding and valid. Okay. It is not valid, di ba? Again, the parties are free to stipulate the terms and conditions of their contracts. But if it goes against laws, morals, public policy, and good customs, then the same is deemed null and void. The compraventa clearly is a restriction of trade, violates public policy, which is against Article 1306. Class, tatandaan natin that prohibition to sell property to third parties, which is indefinite and unlimited as to time, and it will be applicable beyond the lifetime of the original parties to the contract, is a nullity. Diba? Kasi, biruin ninyo, bawal mong ibenta kahit kaninong tao yung lupa sa unreasonable period of time. Diba? If redemption is being asserted, right to redeem must be expressly stipulated in the contract of sale to have legal existence. It is not presumed. Diba? Redemption must be stipulated. The right to redeem. O, Bako Filipino, escalation clause. What is escalation clause, class? Escalation clause, it is the increasing. Well, kapag baliktad naman, de-escalation clause sa tawag doon. Increasing the interest rate without notice. Diba? O, ang tinatanong naman dito, escalation clause valid. Yes, it is a valid contract. It is a valid clause in contracts. Since the contracting parties may stipulate freely the condition and terms of their contracts, di ba? However, monetary policy issued by the central bank in this case is not a law, so BFSB urged increasing its interest rate for the respondent borrowers. ACLFC, spouses gravador, di ba? Pakibasa, ano yun lang, issue whether or not the court can reduce or invalidate the interest rate stipulated in the loan contract. Yes. Diba? Although it is an elementary rule in this jurisdiction that parties are free to stipulate terms in their contract, such will not apply if the interest is unconscionable or iniquitous. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin unconscionable or iniquitous? Sobra. Diba? Yung sobrang pagiging gahaman na. Yung medyo makapal na yung mukha mo. Yan yun. Diba? This is void because it is contrary to public policy, morals, and laws. Okay, the courts may be called upon to either reduce or invalidate such terms. Next. Obligatoriness. Okay? So, ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng obligatoriness of the contract? Obligations arising from contracts have the force of law between the contracting parties and should be complied with good faith. Okay, Article 1310, the termination shall not be obligatory if it is evidently inequitable. In such case, the courts shall decide what is equitable under the circumstances. So, class, contracts in general are perfected by mere consent. And from that moment, the parties are bound not only to the fulfillment of what has been expressly stipulated, but also to all the consequences, which according to their nature, may be in keeping with good faith, usage, and law. So, class, tatandaan ninyo, the general rule is contracts are perfected by mere consent. i-discuss natin yun mamaya. It is the principle of consensuality. Diba? Exception, meron tayong real contracts, meron tayong solemn contracts, etc. Mamaya, i-discuss natin yun. Tingnan natin yung case. So, obligatoriness, ano ang naging excuse dito ni Ama? Ama invoke revenue losses as excuse for non-compliance with the lease contract. Ano sabi? Pwede ba yung valid ba yun? Na revenue losses? Sabi ng Supreme Court, no, hindi yan valid. Diba? Article 1159, mandates and obligations arising from contracts have the force of law and should be complied with in good faith. The law does not relieve the party from the consequences of a contract he entered into, nor do our courts have power to ease the burden of obligations arising from contracts such as this case. So, sorry na lang siya. Metrobank. Whether or not a criminal liability is extinguished by a contract of novation, the answer is no. Okay, the Supreme Court ruled that criminal liability for estafa is not affected by a compromise or novation of contract, such as in this case, since civil liabilities may be recovered thereafter. Tandaan niyo yan, class, ha? Tingnan natin yung mutuality. Another characteristic of contracts is mutuality of contracts. Okay. Article 1308 provides that the contract must bind both contracting parties. Its validity or compliance cannot be left to the will of one of them. Diba? Article 1309, the termination of the performance may be left to the third person whose decision shall not be binding until it has been made known to both contracting parties. So class, tandaan natin ha, i-connect natin ito dun sa obligations, di ba? Potestative suspensive obligation that depends on the sole will of the debtor, the obligation is void. Di ba? So, same principle yan, class. The determination of the performance may be left to a third person, di ba, whose decision shall not be binding. So, class, such decision shall only bind the parties only after it has been made known to both of them. Dapat pareho. Okay, an example of a determination made by a third person, yung Article 1309, is the fixing of the price by the third person. Okay? Tatandaan din natin, class, ha? Di ba? The enumeration in the extinguishment of obligations is not exclusive. Therefore, the contract may be revoked by mutual dissent. Mutual dissent. Tandaan natin, bakit void ulit yung suspensive, potestative, depends to the sole will of the debtor? Because there is no vinculum juris. Diba? In that case, the creditor could never compel the debtor to perform the obligation. Therefore, it is logical that it must be void. Okay? Next. Whether or not a court can intervene between the parties. No. Once a contract has been perfected and thereafter consummated by the parties thereto, its existence and binding effect cannot be disputed anymore. Consummated, ibig sabihin, tapos na. Na-perform na yung obligation. Diba? So, even the courts has no power to intervene, di ba? Except in limited cases, di ba? In limited cases lang. Kaufman versus PNB. Kaufman. So it's about Kaufman's share to the dividend of Philippine Fiber and Produce Company. Whether or not the money is payable to him. Yes, the determination of the performance of the contract may be left to the will of the third person, whose decision shall not be binding until it has been communicated to both parties under Article 1309 of the Civil Code. Class, tabasan nyo na yan. Yung ano na yan, ha? Yung cases na yan, it's your obligation now to read. Ano lang tayo, yung gist. Bonifacio Brothers versus Mora. Ang issue, whether or not Bonifacio Brothers is privy to the insurance contract. What do you mean by private? Ano ba sila? May K ba sila na mangialam, di ba? Ayun yung ibig sabihin private. No, di ba? An insurance contract, policy insurance, is a distinct contract between the insured and insurer. A third person has no right in law or equity to demand the proceeds of the insurance unless there is a contract or trust expressed or implied between the person and a third person. Nakagyan, si pour autrui. What is that? Yeah? That's a provision in benefit of a third person. Mamaya, pag-aaralan natin yan. Kasama yan dyan. Consensuality. Didiscuss ko na ito kanina, uulitin ko. Consensuality of contract. Article 1315. 1305, balikan natin. A contract is a meeting of minds between two persons whereby one binds himself with respect to the other to give something or to render some service. Article 1315. Contracts are perfected by mere consent. Di ba? I-correlate yun sa Article 1305. Di ba? And from that moment, the parties are bound not only to the fulfillment of what has been expressly stipulated, but also to all the consequences which, according to their nature, may be in keeping with good faith usage and law. So, the general rule class, di ba? Contracts are perfected by mere consent, by the meeting of the minds. Di ba? Pag nag-meet ang offer and acceptance, it is perfected. What are the examples of those contracts? Loan, sale, di ba? Article 1316 is an exception to the general rule. Sabi naman dito, real contracts such as deposit, pledge, and comodatum are not perfected until the delivery of the object of the obligation. So class, this is an exception. So sinasabi sa Article 1316, in order for a contract of deposit, pledge, and comodatum to be perfected, it is not only the meeting of the minds that must concur. Diba? There must also be delivery. Maliwanag? Diba? So yung real contracts. Paano naman yung sa sales? Kasi mahalaga rin yung delivery sa sale, sa contract of sale. Class, ha? Contract of sale is a consensual contract. Okay? So, ano yung sabihin nun? If there's meeting of the minds as to the object and the consideration or cost, a contract of sale is perfected. Another question, what is the relevance of tradition or delivery to a contract of sale? The relevance of tradition or delivery to a contract of sale is it refers to the transfer of ownership. It is not for the perfection of the contract of sale, but as to its transfer of ownership. Klaro? Okay, next. According to perfection, consensual, perfected by mere consent, real, delivery, di ba? Perfected by consent, and by the delivery. So kapag walang delivery, consent lang, hindi siya perfected. Solemn, requires compliance with certain formalities prescribed by law, di ba? It is an essential element of a contract of a solemn contract. What are the examples of a solemn contract? First is donation. Diba? Ano ang requirement ng donation? If the donation refers to an immovable property, diba? Kapag immovable property siya, ano ang requirement? It must be in public instrument. Diba? It must be accepted by the donee. The acceptance must also be made in a public instrument. Pwede nandun na mismo sa contract of donation or nakahiwalay. Pwede, wala naman tayong problema dyan. It must be accepted within the lifetime of the donor, etc. Ano pa yung anong solemn contracts? Another example is sa agency class. Kapag ang subject matter, for example, sale of land, di ba? And pinadaan mo sa agent, the authority of the agent must be in writing. So formal siya. Okay? Ano pa ba? So ano pa ba? Mortgage. Writing dapat yan. So marami pang iba. Class, ha? So tatandaan natin yan. Next. General provisions. Alam naman natin to, di ba? Preparatory stages, di ba? Stages in the life of contract. Preparation or negotiation. A preparatory contract is one which has for its object the establishment of a condition in law which is necessary as a preliminary step towards the celebration of another subsequent contract. So, no agreement yet, no binding juridical relation. Thus, either party may stop the negotiation or withdraw an offer made. Perfection of birth, di ba? So, ano ba yung sa preparation or negotiation? Anong example niyan? Option contract. So, Article 1324 of the Civil Code sa sales to. When the offerer has allowed the offeree a certain period to accept, the offer may be withdrawn at any time before acceptance by communicating such withdrawal, except when the option is founded upon a consideration as something paid or promised. So, pag-aaral natin yan sa sales. Okay? So, ano ba yung landmark case dito? Sanchez versus Rigos. Pag-aaralan natin yan, ha? Perfection or birth. So, this takes place when the parties have come to a definite agreement or meeting of the minds regarding the terms. General rule, contracts are perfected by mere consent. Principle of consensuality. Exception, real contracts. And solemn contracts. Performance, ayan, dito yan sa performance, consummation. Consummation or death, which is the fulfillment or performance of the terms agreed upon. So, Tong Brothers versus Company versus IAC, whether or not there is a contract or such contract has been perfected. Pakibasa yung facts, ha? Ruling, no, a contract is perfected by mere consent. And from that moment, the parties are bound not only to the fulfillment of what has been expressly stipulated, but also to the consequences. And consent is manifest by meeting of the offer and acceptance upon the thing and the cause which constitute the contract. Or relativity of contracts. Ano naman itong relativity of contracts? General rule, the contract is binding only upon the parties and their successors. Ayan yun. Ha? Article 1311. So yun lang daw yun. Ha? However, if the contract is purely personal, diba? Is purely personal, then the contract will not bind assigns and heirs. So kapag contract, yung obligation niya is very personal. For example, the personal qualification of a person. Gusto kong kumanta si Regine Velasquez sa aking kasal, di ba? So yun. Hindi, kapag na-deads, for example, si Regine Velasquez, hindi yan mamanahin ng kanyang heirs, di ba? Ano na mamalay nila doon sa pagkanta? Okay. So, so a general rule, class, is who are bound by contracts, di ba? As party successors in interest, heirs, assigns. So pag tinanong kayo, under the principle of privity of contracts, di ba? So yun. Bound, C, assigns, and heirs. Exceptions, if the obligations create exceptions? The exceptions are rights which are purely personal or intransmissible. Ano yung mga yan? Ayan, nandun yan sa ano yung mga intransmissible rights? Diba? One, because of provision of law, such as in cases of partnership and agency, or usufructuary rights. Number two, by the very nature of the obligations arising therefrom, such as those requiring special personal qualifications of the obligor, yung contract of service, di ba? Or by stipulation of the parties, di ba? For example, pacto de retro sale, where only the party may redeem, not anyone else. Stipulation of the parties. Second paragraph, if a contract should contain some stipulation in favor of a third person, he may demand its fulfillment, provided he communicated his acceptance to the obligor before its revocation. A mere incidental benefit or interest of a person is not sufficient. The contracting parties must have clearly and deliberately conferred a favor upon a third person. So, ano ito? Ano yung second paragraph? It refers to stipulations per atrophy. Di ba? Ayun yung binanggit ko kanina. So, ano yung requisites ng stipulations per atrophy? Ayan, na-discuss na natin yan. Yan, by rights and obligations arising from the contract are not transmissible. Okay? Nature, stipulation, provision of law. Okay? Ayan na. Ito na siya. General rule. Ano ang rule sa third person? A third person is one who has not taken part in a contract and is therefore a stranger to the contract. Exception to the general rule. Yeah? There are cases when third parties may be affected by a contract. In contracts creating real rights. So, ano naman ito? Since a real right is binding against the whole world and attaches to the property over which it is exercised wherever it goes. So, madali lang number one. Creation of real rights. So ano ba yung general rule? Kulang yung ano? A third person who is the one who has not taken part of the contract, and since he did not take part in the contract, therefore, hindi dapat siya affected. Diba? So, ayan yung general rule. Kapag third person ka, wala kang privity dun sa contracts, syempre, stranger ka, wala kang pakialam. Exceptions, yan. Creation of real rights. Next. In contracts entered into defraud creditors. That's logical. Diba? Which have been violated at the inducement of the third person. Ayan, didiscuss natin yan mamaya. Creation of status, di ba? So, it will, di ba, ang sinabi natin sa persons, marriage is a special contract. Di ba? Between a man and the woman, etc., etc., etc. Therefore, the third persons are obliged to recognize the change in status. So ito, number 5, in collective contracts where the majority rules over the minority. Okay. Ito, quasi-contract. Number 7, pakibasa na lang. And number 8, ito yung pinakamahalaga. Stipulation pour autrui. It is a stipulation in a contract clearly and deliberately conferring a favor upon a third person who has a right to demand its fulfillment, provided he communicates his acceptance to the obligor before its revocation by the obligee or the original parties. Therefore, what are the requisites of a stipulation pour autrui? Number 1, di ba? The contracting parties must have clearly and deliberately conferred a favor upon a third person. Number 2, di ba? Communication of acceptance by the third person to the obligor before its revocation by the obligee or the original parties. Wala naman sinasabi ko ano form ng acceptance as long as it is unconditional. So, when a third person accepts the benefits of a contract to which he is not a party, he is also bound to accept the concomitant obligations corresponding thereto. The stipulation in favor of the third person should be a part and not the whole of the contract or the contract itself. But the favorable stipulation should not be conditioned or compensated by any kind of obligation whatever. Neither of the contracting parties bears the legal representation or authorization of the third party, for otherwise the rules of agency will apply. So ayan yung stipulation pour autrui. Hindi mo pwede mang incidental lang. Kailangan, di ba? Kailangan deliberate na conferment of favor upon a third person. Text to constitute a valid stipulation pour autrui. The contracting parties by their stipulation must have clearly and deliberately conferred a favor upon a third person. Paulit-ulit lang yan, class, ha? Pag yan hindi nyo pa natandaan, lagot kayo sa akin. And it is not sufficient that a third person may be incidentally benefited by the stipulation. So, kailangan palinaw. Pero, kailangan yung contract na yon, hindi yung buong contract in favor sa kanya. Okay? Only a part of the contract. Okay? Okay, classes of stipulation. Those where the stipulation is intended for the sole benefit of such person. Those where the obligation is due from the promisee to the third person, which the former seeks to discharge by means of such stipulation. The third party is called creditor beneficiary. Dali lang yan. Pakibasa yung facts. Prudential Bank versus Abasolo. The issue here is whether or not Prudential Bank is liable. Ruling is no, petitioner is correct when it raised Article 1311. that provides that contracts take effect between parties, their assigns and heirs, except otherwise provided by their nature, stipulations, or law. It appears on the records that the loan proceeds will pay directly to Abasolo, but only to Corazon, since only Corazon and Prudential Bank are privy to the contract. Florentino versus Encarnacion. Whether or not a stipulation pour atrophy is revocable unilaterally. The answer is no. It is not revocable. It is not, it cannot be revoked. Especially when a third person already communicated his acceptance before its revocation. As a rule, there is no time at such a third person has after the time until the stipulation is revoked. So, wala naman sinasabi kung kailan mo i-revoke, kung kailan mo pwedeng i-revoke. Diba? Again, wala sinasabi ang ating civil law kung kailan dapat magkaroon ng acceptance. So, kapag nag-accept si third person and hindi pa re-revoke ng parties itong stipulation na yon, pwede niya i-accept. So, logically, kung ang tanong ay kailan pwedeng i-revoke ni parties yung stipulation pour atrophy before the acceptance. Ganun lang yun, guys. Nominate, innominate. Alam naman natin yan. Consensual, real, or solemn. According to perfection, cost, onerous, remunatory, gratuitous. According to form, informal, formal. According to obligatory force, valid, resistable, voidable, unenforceable, and void. Class, yung B, C, D, E, yan ang report ninyo. Okay? So, that's for your class standing. According to person obliged, unilateral, bilateral. Na-discuss natin yan. Dependent on another contract, preparatory, accessory, or principal. According to risk, commutative, aleatory. According to liability, unilateral, bilateral. So, about innominate contracts, So, nominate contracts class, yung may specific name or designation in law. For example, sales, donation, lease, comodatum, etc. Innominate contracts has no specific name or designation in law, pero contracts sila. Wala lang silang pangalan. Okay, ayan natin. Rationality of innominate, the impossibility of anticipating all forms of agreement and the progress of bad sociological and economic relationships. Okay? Basahin nyo lang yan. So, kinds of innominate contract, do it des, di ba? So, barter na siya ngayon. Do it fachas, I give that you may do. Facio et ut des, I do that you may give. Facio ut fachas, I do that you may do. So, tandaan, ano nyo lang yan? Madali lang yan, class. Wala tayo dapat pagtalunan dyan. Rules governing innominate contracts, agreement of the parties, provisions of the civil code on obligon. Rules governing the most analogous contracts, yung pinaka kapareho niya. Although may difference, di ba? Pero yung pinaka kapareho niya. And for customs of the place. Whether or not a contract exists although not reduced in writing. Yes, class, di ba? May oral contracts naman eh. Di ba? So, pwede yun. Yun lang mas ano siya, mas it's a matter of evidence. Una-una, mahirap siyang patunayan. Pangalawa, mas may clear prescriptive period niya. General provisions again. Article 1314, any person who induces another to violate his contract shall be liable for damages to the other contracting party. So, alam naman natin yan, di ba? Di ba? Yung
Ano ba sabihin ng induce? Parang ano yan, in-encourage niya na yaya, na ano na, parang niyaya niya na tinukso niya, etc. Na huwag mo lang sundin yung provision sa contract ninyo. However, it must be, the contract referred to must be valid. Diba? And the third person has knowledge of the existence of the contract or must have known of it after a reasonable inquiry. Yan, so a third person is not liable where insufficient justification for interference or inducement can be shown. So, kailangan may justifiable reasons. Default versus la corporation, whether or not the respondent can be held liable to default. Yes, a third person who induces another to violate his contract shall be held liable to the other contracting party as per Article 1314 of the Civil Code. Let's pakibasa na lang yan kasi napakaano yan eh. No-brainer. Ganun ulit niya. Pwede ba sila maging liable sa Gilchrist versus Cuddy? So sa American, American period. So yes. Di ba? Pwede raw. So 1317, no one may contract in the name of another without being authorized by a latter. Unless he has by law or a right to represent him. So agency ito. May agent. Diba? Discuss na rin natin ito sa payment. Diba? Same principles yan. Diba? So kapag walang authority or legal representation, yung agent, nagpapanggap na agent, or nag-act siya beyond his powers, the contract will be unenforceable. So group 3, unless it is ratified expressly or impliedly by the person on whose behalf it has been executed, before it is revoked by the other contracting parties. So unauthorized contracts can be cured only by ratification. So ano ba yung requirement ng ratification? Di ba, inano natin yan? I-discuss na rin natin yan sa persons and family relations. It must be clear and expressed so as not to admit of any doubt or vagueness. The effects of ratification retroacts to the moment of the celebration of the contract. Unauthorized contract, I-discuss din natin to. A person is not bound by the contract of another of which he has no knowledge or to which he has not given his consent, di ba? So alam naman natin, class, na sa contract, kailangan no consent. It is an essential requisite. Ano ang exemption? Di ba? The person entering into the contract must be duly authorized, expressly or impliedly, by the person in whose name he contracts, or, class by law, there is a right to represent him. Ano-ano yung mga yan? Guardian, executor, administrator, lawyer, kasali dyan, etc. He must act within his power. If in excess of authority, the excess part is unenforceable. Okay, class? So, we will continue our lecture. Siguro magsasabit ako mga Wednesday or Thursday ulit. Okay? So, by now, pakibasa mabuti yan, and we will have a Zoom discussion. We'll announce it sa GC ng Beadles. So, thank you and have a good day. Keep safe.